Everyone. I hope you're all doing well today. Gonna give it a couple minutes. I still see some people coming in the waiting room, and I don't want to miss anybody. Also, feel oh so free to turn your video cameras on. You don't have to, but feel free to, because I will ask you guys to interact and be a part of this, so it's not just someone speaking at you the whole time. Happy Sunday afternoon to all of you. Got another person coming in. Hey, David.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Nice to see you.
Likewise.
Let's give it a couple more seconds, minutes. I'm gonna work on I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna open up the chat. Hi, Sierra. I just saw your chat. Pick the screen to share here. Alrighty. Can you guys all see my screen?
Yes.
Thanks, David. Okay. I'm going to put you guys on my left screen so that I can see everything else that's going on. There will be 30 minutes at the end for Q&A. And at the same time, if you want to drop some questions or say something in the chat, if I miss you, please speak up, because it is a little bit difficult sometimes for me to both be doing the presentation and see you and monitor the chat. So feel free to say something. And as I mentioned, if you want to turn your cameras on, you are more than welcome to. You're not obligated to. But I do love a good community feeling. Don't I, David?
You too.
All right. Oh, there's someone else coming in. Still coming in. All right. I'm going to try to keep an eye on the inbound people, but I'm going to get started because we are 3 minutes in and I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So we will get going, guys. Welcome, welcome. I'm so excited you're here and that you are taking steps toward owning your job search. For those of you who were here at last week's, we're going to go over some of the stuff that we went over last week quickly because there are some new people here. And I would like them to get those few things that you guys got last time. So we'll go through that very quickly. So what I would love for you guys to do is to put in the chat, what is your biggest frustration when it comes to building a resume that gets you interviews, that gets you eyeballs. I sometimes call it butts in seats too, butts in interview seats. Go ahead and pop that in the chat. Your biggest frustration, the thing that when you sit down to do it, that thought that goes through your mind that's like, ugh. Or when you have to submit an application, like what is going through your mind? What is your biggest frustration? And please do let me know because I want to make sure that we are hitting the right things today. You can also speak up and say it. You don't have to put it in the chat. What to include and what not to include. Thank you, David. Jessica, relevant experience or framing it as if it's relevant. Yes, thank you, Jessica. Tejal, I'm apologize if I'm not saying that right, and feel free to turn on your mic and correct me. For remote jobs, there's just too much competition due to people applying from all over the country. I understand. And remote jobs are becoming less common because companies do want you to come back to the office now. I did just have a client who landed a remote job, so it is completely possible. Sierra, you did a double exclamation on Jessica's comment, so I'm guessing that is your number one as well. Framing your experience in a way that's relevant, because I'm gonna guess I was I was in your guys' seats, wanting to move into project management and knowing deep down, like, I have the right experience. I don't know how to frame it or articulate it in a way that will get me interviews. And that is what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to walk you through the end-to-end process to building a resume that actually gets you those eyeballs and gets you into interview calls. Because at the end of the day, what is the point of putting a resume together if you don't end up landing interviews? This is not just something that we do for funsies. So we have an hour and a half of content, like I said, and then 30 minutes of Q&A at the end. It is pretty much impossible for me to go to a level where you can 100% do this on your own. I'm going to do my best, and what I'm going to do is walk you through end-to-end process. And if you want to work on this with me in a collaborative way, in a way where you're not questioning what you're doing and that you're not questioning that this is the right way, there will be an opportunity to work with me interactively. This is going to take a long time, a very long time. So that is why I have this opportunity to work with me in a group setting in a more interactive way where you get personalized help. Everything I'm sharing with you today is very, very important. And in fact, this is actually a prerequisite to a workshop that I am running, this interactive workshop that will be next Sunday. You must sit through this entirety of the presentation today. It is a prerequisite for that workshop. I will not allow anybody to join that workshop unless they've actually attended this or watched the replay, because I don't want to repeat myself during that interactive workshop. I want to sit down and I want to get your guys' resumes done versus like doing more learning. So please make sure you stay through all of today. Today, you're going to be a fly on the wall for how I teach my clients to do this effectively, and you're going to get an opportunity at the end to ask me questions. And this is something that I don't offer outside of workshops like this unless you are working directly with me. So do make sure, like I said, that you stay for the entire thing. Okay. So let me know, drop in the chat numbers. Which one of these do you relate to? So number one, you have an itch for more. You're ready for change, but you're unsure how to make the leap. That's the first one. Number two, you hear crickets or you get ghosted when you apply. You know you are capable, and I'm guessing that Jessica and Sierra, this is what you were referring to. You know you're capable of doing the job of a project manager. I'm assuming you're all here because you want to be project managers. If you don't, that's okay. You can stay. It's going to be just as effective for you. You know you're capable of the job, but you cannot convince recruiters and hiring managers of your value or that you can do the job. That's number two. Number three, you lack formal PM experience. And you can relate to more than one if you want. You can drop as many numbers in the chat as you relate to. So you lack formal PM experience. Self-doubt and imposter syndrome keeps you from applying. And even though you know deep down inside that you do have the transferable experience, you're just like, when it comes to fight, flight, or freeze, you're in freeze. You're worried about the market. You hear how people way more qualified than you are struggling and you don't feel competitive. Tajal, I'm gonna guess this probably falls into that category for you since you're talking about remote jobs. Or number five, you're simply burnt out. You're underpaid, you're undervalued, especially for the amount of hours and effort that you put in, and it is affecting your mental health. So Corinne, think it's Corinne. Feel free to correct me. Number 2 and number 4, so crickets and getting ghosted and being worried about the market, that is a big one. Sierra, number 3 and number 4, so lacking that formal experience. And then again, the market. Please be interactive, guys. Please let me know because I want to make sure that I'm hitting all of this. David, 2, you hear crickets, get ghosted, lack of formal PM experience. Yep, that's a pretty big one. Tajal, 3 and 4, lack of experience, that market. Man, that market, yeah, it's very scary right now. There are a lot of things that are going on, but that does not mean there's nothing you can do about it. There is a lot that you can do about it, and we are going to talk about that today. Okay, so why are we bothering to do a resume? Why is it important? I'm going to tell you that today is not just about building a resume or landing an interview. This is about becoming what I call the obvious choice. Recruiters are drowning. They're drowning in candidates. And what we want to do is position you as the lifesaver, that obvious choice, that person that they can look at in the sea of applicants and be like, yes, this person is everything that I was looking for, plus more. Like, they're going to help me look good to the hiring manager. This is what they want. They want to look good if they're an internal recruiter, meaning they work at the company, or they want to get paid if they're an external recruiter and they work for a third party. That is what they want. And I would like you guys to remember, I'd like to offer this to you, that recruiters are not trying to sabotage your success. I know it can feel like that, and I promise you they're not. They're just trying to do their jobs. And they really are struggling to find the right candidate because, I actually see this all the time. Like, they're posting about this. Recruiters are posting on LinkedIn that it is really hard to find the right candidates because there are way too many people faking their applications or people who are not qualified who are applying. And so when we make it easy for them, they really, really appreciate it. That is how you stand out. That's how you create authentic, quality messaging and communication. We are not here to learn how to lie to recruiters. That is not what we're doing. We're not going to be in that pool of people who are lying or who are exaggerating or who are not qualified. This is about connecting the dots for you so that you see how you are qualified and so that you can boost your confidence. And this is for you to be able to use the right language and to tell stories in a way that will show that you are qualified for the position. So my story behind, like, why do I know that this works? And I know it works because I did it. In 2016, I was a cake decorator. I've been a cake decorator for 5 years, and I was working ridiculously long hours, like 12-hour days, if not more. There were nights that I worked until 2 a.m., particularly during the busy season. And one day, I had worked another 12-hour day, and I got called back in to decorate some cupcakes, just cupcakes. Like, you'd think it was the end of the world, but it was just cupcakes. I did go in and I did decorate them. And I decided after that I was going to have a conversation with my boss. And it was just about, some boundaries and about how I was feeling. And, I would appreciate not having to work so much for so little pay. And her response to me was, you made your bed, now lie in it or quit. And I quit on the spot. I had no backup plan. I had nothing planned for me. I went to culinary school to be a cake decorator. Like, I've wanted to do this. And then it ended up completely blowing up for me. I never wanted to touch another cake again after that. So I really didn't have a plan. So I knew that because I wanted to be out of cake decorating and out of that world, and that I was not going to be the next Buddy Velastro, I knew that I wanted to get into corporate because cake decorating sucked my soul out. Corporate cake decorating. So I ended up taking the first job that I could find, and that was a receptionist at a law firm. And I just worked my way up there. I went from receptionist to an invoice processor to accounting lead, and then eventually I was assisting and for a little bit acting office manager for that same law firm. And when I was there, I had a manager tell me that I'd be a good project manager. And I was like, what is this? What is project management? Is this a real job? Is this a real title? Sure enough, it was. I looked into it and I was like, yeah, I don't have to go back to school for this. I don't have to take a $5,000 boot camp. This seems accessible to me to where I was because I was making barely above minimum wage at that time. So I couldn't go back to school. I couldn't afford a $5,000, $10,000 boot camp. That wasn't going to happen. So I started applying and I heard crickets because I didn't know what it meant to be a project manager. I really didn't. So I did two things. I got my PMP and I hired a resume writer because I knew I needed someone to help connect the dots between my experience and what recruiters and hiring managers were looking for. And when I did that, everything changed. It changed very quickly. I started getting calls, I started getting interviews, and then I landed my first project management job after that happened. Now, I'd like to remind everybody here that when I landed my first PM job, I had never had the title, ever. In fact, as I said, I went through a very complicated leap. I wasn't even in the corporate world yet. I went from non-corporate to corporate, and I truly didn't think I had transferable skills. Like I knew what I wanted, and I knew I'd be a good project manager if I could get there, but I didn't see the transferable skills. It was only when someone took the time to ask me the right questions that I was able to connect the dots. Because it's, I love the saying, it is really hard to see the label when you're in the jar. I was in the jar and I could not see the label. I needed somebody else to see it for me. And this is what this resume writer does. So it's very important to have a mentor like that, someone who believes in you, because it's hard to see these things in yourself. And this is why I do what I do today. I am a career coach specifically for people who are pivoting into project management because I want to help people the way that this resume writer and a couple other people along the way helped me. I'd also like to remind you all that I had never run an official project, much less one in an official framework like Scrum or Kanban or Waterfall or whatever. And I'm going to tell you that even now, as a senior project manager, I do not run projects that follow a formal official framework. I am very good at getting teams to get shit done. That is what I do. And that is the definition of success for a project manager. Often we're doing it, within a certain amount of time for a certain amount of money and making sure that certain things get done. And that's what it really is in a nutshell. So the framework for doing that, that's not the definition of success. Frameworks are helpful. They're a good tool for you to be able to get these things done. But having run a formal project in a formal framework is not a prerequisite. And it was not a prerequisite for me. So what happened for me is that I learned how to tell my story. And as a result of learning how to tell my story and talk about my experience in an impactful way, my confidence skyrocketed, truly. Recruiters started coming to me instead of me having to go to them. And by the time all was said and done, my salary quadrupled. That's what I love about project management. Okay, this is Valerie. Valerie came to me very frustrated because she knew that she knew she had the right skills and experience. She knew she was a superstar. For her, confidence wasn't a problem, but she kept getting overlooked. She couldn't understand it. She's like, Kayla, I have all of this great experience. Why is nobody calling me? Why am I getting ghosted? Why am I hearing crickets? And I really understood where Valerie was coming from because she was going through everything that I was going through. And when I talked to Valerie, she was honestly very hesitant to work with me. And she told me that. And I took Valerie through the process. I asked her the right questions to help her extract her experience and map what she had done directly to what recruiters and hiring managers were looking for. And she went from a response rate of 20% to a response rate of 100% using the resume that we worked on together. And this is the stuff. This is the stuff that makes me happy because I can help my clients take what took me almost 9 years and like $15,000 to learn. I help them do it in weeks or months for much less money than it cost me to get all of this knowledge. So I know a lot of you here came because you want to learn how to build a resume, but the truth is, what I am actually going to be teaching you goes way beyond resume writing. I'm going to teach you how to be an influential professional. And those skills are not only going to help you get found and get interviews, but they're also going to be skills that help you in the workplace going forward. So this is William. When William came to me, he was feeling super burnt out and bored at his job. He was like, I know I can do so much more, but he had zero upward momentum. He was completely stuck. This is what I call a dead end. He was at a dead end job. But after we worked together to get clear on his story and what he has to offer that's unique, he actually moved into a director role from a team lead position. It was a huge jump for him. And this happened because we got super, super clear on his story and made sure that we told it in a way that got him the attention that he deserved. When I met Ron, he felt lost, super lost, and like he had no place to go. He owned his own business and he had been an entrepreneur for his entire life. So he had no idea where to start, like just frozen in place. And the other, he too knew that he had everything that he needed, but it wasn't polished. It wasn't polished in a way that was getting him eyeballs. In fact, when we looking back with Ron, he told me that he didn't even know his stuff wasn't polished. He thought what he had was polished, but after we started working together, he started to see the pieces just fall into place. He went from, or we actually went very, very deep into his past and pulled out information about what he had done as an entrepreneur, not even in corporate, but as an entrepreneur and a business owner. And we put his past experience into a story that by the end made him feel way more prepared. And as a result, his confidence skyrocketed. And this is Ryan. When I first met Ryan, he had no idea what he wanted to do. He knew he wanted to be a project manager, but he didn't have any specific targets within project management. He knew he wanted to use his PMP and to work in tech, but Ryan found that his goals were very, very vague and he had no real framework to make his dream a reality. So he was actually a little hesitant to work with me too, because he knew it was going to be an investment. But in the end, he gained a shortcut of months or maybe even years of guessing and trying things that he wasn't sure were going to work. So by the time Ryan and I finished working together, he knew exactly how to tackle his career transition and get exactly to where he wants to go. And now he knows that you don't actually have to have all the prerequisites the job descriptions are demanding if you know how to frame your experience in the right way. He gained the confidence that he needed to go after the types of jobs that he wanted. So if you guys sitting here in front of me want to get the same results as these people, then make sure you come to my interactive workshop next Sunday. Okay, so after working with my clients, I have come up with a very simple framework for creating a powerful resume and a powerful story. And you need to make sure that you stay here and that you listen to this part of the workshop because it's going to become very important later on. And like I said, for the interactive workshop next week, I don't want to repeat myself. That's going to be a time to get things done, not to learn. So these are the 3 high-level steps. Step number 1, define your North Star. Step number 2, lay out all of the experience you already have. And then step number 3, chart the route to your dream role. I'm going to go over these in more detail, but this is the high level way that we get there. Okay, define your North Star. This is the first part of the framework. So if you're going to embark on a career journey, you have to set a North Star. Just like sailors use the North Star to help navigating in their journey. For those of you who were here on day 1, you know that I hit very hard that you needed to have an ideal job, which I also call a North Star. And just saying that you want to be a project manager is not good enough because project management spans almost every industry there is out there. And a lot of project management roles emphasize different skill sets. I know it is very hard. It's very, very difficult to pick your ideal role. And this is something that I help my clients with in my full end-to-end program. We go very deep on this. Sometimes you need someone who has been in project management for a very long time to help you make that decision whether a certain job is the right fit for you based on your past and your experiences. And this is something that I spend a lot of time actively helping my clients with. So for the purposes of our time today, I'm going to quickly go over a helpful framework to help you find your direction. And those of you who were here last Monday will recall that I promised this, and here I'm going to do it today. So you all are going to get it. Okay. This is one of the many tools that I use to help my clients find their ideal job. I help my clients figure out what archetype that they fit into. So I work with each of them to go very deep into their results of our work together so that we can find their niche. And often they have a very hard time figuring out which quadrant they fit into. And as someone on the outside who has spent time with them and understands them and looks at all aspects of their experience and their personality, I help them get that clarity. Now, I don't expect that you're going to be able to take this and find your calling, especially if you're like a little on the fence about some things, but it's going to get you going in the right direction. So we have 2 quadrants here, horizontal and vertical axes. On the horizontal axis, you're going to see structured versus ambiguous. Some people just really thrive on structure and having a process, having a framework. Some people, they don't like that. They want to be a little more free. They kind of like thrive on the chaos, and of like being creative and thinking on their feet and things like that. Their feet, not feet. Okay, and then on the vertical axis, we have people versus things and systems. So some people like really enjoy building relationships, networking, creating those deep relationships with other people, and that's how they get things done. Other people, they are very much in alignment with like systems and things, like hands-on and tinkering with things. So it's between these 4 quadrants that we kind of find these archetypes. So archetype number 1, the builders. These are people who like structured and tangible projects. These are often people from construction, engineering, facilities, or manufacturing. And they like projects where progress is visible and concrete, like building a house. So examples here are construction PM, engineering PM, manufacturing PM, facilities PM, and their core strengths are scheduling, coordinating contractors, ensuring safety and compliance, and managing budgets and resources. Those are the builders. Quadrant 2, the optimizers. I fall into this quadrant. These are people who really enjoy process and operations projects. So the type of people that fit here are people from business operations, HR, finance, law. I work for a law firm, or healthcare, who like bringing order to complexity. They thrive in projects that improve efficiency or implement systems. So examples of this are operations PM, process improvement PM, a legal project manager, or healthcare PM. And these are just general guidelines. There are a lot of other titles that fall into here, but this will get the ball rolling for you. Core strengths here are streamlining workflows, stakeholder communication, policy compliance, and making things run smoother. And as I go through, if you guys want to put which one you think you are in the chat just to kind of solidify it, I really encourage you to do that. And I'd kind of like to get a feeling for who's here as well. Okay, quadrant 3, the storytellers. These are people who really enjoy creative and people-facing projects. Jessica, optimizer, awesome. People who fit here are people with backgrounds in marketing, communications, events, nonprofit, and education. Tajal, optimizer, thank you. These kind of people shine in environments where messaging, brand, or people engagement is at the core. David says storyteller, but also navigator. Yes, David, you do really well with ambiguity. So example job titles here: marketing PM, events PM, creative or creative services PM, and education PM. Core strengths here are cross-functional coordination, managing campaigns, translating vision into deliverables, and building relationships. Sierra, I'm talking about storytellers right now. That was like the last 30 seconds I was talking about storytellers. I apologize in advance. Kanyan? Let me know if that's not right. Says a mix of optimizer and storyteller. Okay, great. Anyone else want to say what quadrant they feel like they fit into? Go ahead and put it in the chat. And I'm going to talk about the fourth one. This is navigators. These are people who thrive in ambiguity and innovation projects. So people who fit here are people who thrive in the gray area. They're often from tech or startups or even research and development, and they're comfortable when things aren't fully defined, making them super ideal for SaaS, software as a service, agile environments, or innovation roles. So examples here are IT project manager, SaaS implementation PM, technical PM, and product development project manager, or even product manager a little bit. That is not the same thing as project manager, but that is out of scope for today's conversation. And let's see, Sierra says, I would say I fit in storytelling. I'm a marketing major with an interest in PM. Yeah, I think that would make sense, Sierra, certainly. So this is my approach. Like I said, it's going to be very difficult to figure out exactly where you fit and to make sure that your past experiences and your personality fit with that, but this is just general guidelines. All right. Second part of the framework is to lay out all of the experience that you already have. You all sitting here have more than enough to be able to sell yourselves. I know you do because I've taken a gander at all your LinkedIn profiles. And the biggest mistake that people make is trying to constantly make themselves feel like they're enough by taking more certifications, by learning more. And that's the only way that they can feel like they're enough for this. And I think something that happens here is, if only I could tell my story better and connect the dots. If you were able to do that, you wouldn't need to go back and spend more money on certifications to make yourself, feel worthy. You are worthy already as you are. You all come with the experience that you need, and I'm going to help you figure out how to connect those dots. So that's step 2. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a little bit deeper into storytelling, and telling you what makes a good story. When you're sharing your experience, whether it's on a resume or in an interview, storytelling is the secret sauce. That is going to be what makes you stand out above the hundreds of other applicants who are just regurgitating tasks. Okay, so think about the best movies that you have ever seen. Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars. These are some of the most memorable stories of our lives, of our generation sitting here on this call. And they're compelling for many, many reasons. But one of the reasons they're so compelling may not be what you think it is. One of the mistakes that I keep seeing people make this mistake all the time is that they talk about their experience and they make what they do look way too easy. Like, yeah, this just comes naturally. I just like snapped my fingers and made it get done. Like, that would be so boring. That would be the most boring Harry Potter movie ever. Just to be like, yeah, they gave me a wand and then I fixed everything. Like, that's it. So, here is the secret to this. Have you ever watched a movie that didn't have a villain, that didn't have adversity, that didn't have challenges? No, right? Like, again, because those would be super boring movies. Like, okay, great. I'm going to talk about Harry Potter because I love Harry Potter and it's the one that I vibe with the most. Seeing him get on the train and go to Hogwarts, like, yeah, cool, but I'm going to get really bored of that after a while. This is why Voldemort exists. You appreciate the movie a lot more when you've been taken through the roller coaster of the fighting scenes and the challenges and the adversity. It just really makes you appreciate the hero that much more. So always remember, one of the tips that I'm going to give you as you think about telling your stories is always remember to talk about the villains in your projects. And this is not necessarily people, although it could be like a difficult stakeholder, a resistant stakeholder. That could be one of the issues or one of the villains. But any challenge that made your project difficult, lack of funding, tight timeline, anything like that, and just to really ham it up. The second mistake that I keep seeing people make when they're putting their story together is that there's no structure. There's no beginning, there's no middle, there's no end. And when you're just talking about the middle, which is like, just tasks, regurgitating lists of what you did, people don't understand the context. They don't understand why it matters. They have no idea what problems you solve for the organization, what villains you help fight. They have no idea what impact you created in the end. None of these things are enough on their own. Just like in a vacuum, they are not enough. It's not enough for you to simply talk about your impact or to simply talk about what you've done. It's not enough for you to talk about what problems you solve. A true story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And when you connect all of these things together, the recruiter gets a full picture of what you've been able to accomplish and why you're the right person for that role. Okay, so that is why I really like the storytelling framework. There was a very popular framework out there called STAR, and companies love to use it. This includes Amazon and other major FANG companies, but STAR is dead. STAR stands for situation, tasks, actions, and results. So my golden nugget for today is to introduce you to the SOAR framework. O stands for obstacles. This is the villain in your movie, and it must be good for your story to be compelling. So, situation, obstacles, here's what's made it so difficult, so challenging, so hard. Here's my big villain, the actions that you took, and then the results. This framework is going to help you position yourself as the solution to the organization's problems, because that's why they're hiring you. They have a problem, they have a pain, and they need you to fix that villain. It's going to put you as that solution rather than just someone who like does things and ticks boxes. So like I mentioned, there is going to be an interactive workshop next Sunday. If you go to the workshop, I'm going to be giving you a cheat sheet to help you organize your stories and to give you the framework to structure them. That way, you know exactly what stories to tell, as well as how detailed you need to be in telling your stories. So one thing that I keep hearing my clients share with me over and over again when they're brainstorming their projects, brainstorming their stories, and working on their resume is they have no idea where to start. Super overwhelming. They don't know what experiences to share or how detailed they need to be when they tell their stories. Sometimes there's not enough detail. Sometimes they write a novel and it's just way too much. And so I've made it easy, and in the workshop, you're going to get this. I made an easy, like, paint by numbers template. So you'll have templates and tools to help you figure out what stories to tell and what the structure of your stories should be. And one of those tools that I use to help you do that, and one of the frameworks that I help you do that in, is this SOAR framework and the template that I give you that goes along with that. Okay, now we are at the third part of the framework here, and that is charting the route to your dream route, your dream role. So after you have picked an ideal job, that's number one. After you have remembered everything you've done, that's number two, and can be very, very challenging. And once you've put it into like structured storytelling approaches in a way that is engaging and has enough depth, but not too much detail, how do we connect the dots? That's where we are on step 3. How do we take those stories and frame them in a way that helps the recruiter see that you are addressing the needs for the role specifically? And how do we even put it into a resume format? So this is what I'm going to talk about in the next few slides here for the next few minutes. One of the biggest challenges that people have is they have trouble understanding what the job post is looking for. And again, I'm going to remind you that just any old project management job is not going to fit the bill. And if you are applying for any and every project management role out there, then you're not going to get any traction. You might get a little bit, but I highly doubt you're going to get as much as you could, because you are being overly generic. So you need to understand what the job post is looking for. So I want you all to raise your little electronic hands, or if you have your camera on, you can raise your actual hand. Raise your hand if you have ever been in a situation where you looked at a job posting and thought to yourself, I don't know what these people are looking for. Got 2. Everybody else always knows exactly what the job description is looking for. Kanyan, Tej, Tejal. I really hope I'm saying that. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying on your names. I promise.
No, that's okay. Kayla, nice try. It's Tejal.
Jill, thank you. I really appreciate you coming off of mute and correcting me.
No,
Thank
no. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Hey, Jill. Okay, great. Alrighty, so you can put your little electronic hands down. Sierra put hers in the chat. Awesome. This is a very universal feeling, looking at this job description and being like, what do you want from me? All right, timelines, task tracking, duh. Like, that is what all project management roles want. But they have a deeper issue that they are trying to solve. So I have come up here with these 4 buckets that roles fall into, that most project management roles fall into. And this is what you can use as a general guide for the types of stories that you need to be telling and the dots that you need to be connecting. So number one is the architect. This is planning and organization. This is project management 101, right? Like you need to be organized, you need to plan things. That's what you need to get done. That's what an architect does, right? They create the blueprints, they lay out all of the components that need to be done, they make sure it's organized. That's what an architect does. Then we have the conductor. This is execution and delivery. Think about what a conductor does. They get this group of dozens, maybe even hundreds of musicians to play music and to do it together. And not only do it together, but depending on how they move their hands and the movements of their bodies and what they, the eye contact they make with different people, different things happen. They play really, really soft, or they play really, really loud and they get really intense. Like this is what a conductor does. They make sure that things are executed and delivered at the right time. Then we have the air traffic controller. This is communication and collaboration. These are the people that sit in the towers and tell people, here's how things need to be done. If a engine goes out on an airplane or if there is a collision path, the air traffic controllers are the ones who communicate and problem solve. They work with the pilots and the co-pilots and the people in the other planes and the people on the ground to make sure that things happen seamlessly and that these people are all working together. And then we have the captain. This is leadership and adaptability, and I think is the one that people miss the most in project management roles and when they're speaking about their experience. The captain sits at the helm of the ship. They tell everybody else, not even tell, they exude authority. They are a leader. They lead by example. They are the actual, the sample of how things should be done. And they adapt when things get difficult, there's when there's a storm, they tell the team when to roll up the sails, or they tell the team when to move the steering wheel a different way. Clearly I am not a boat expert, but you get the picture as to what a captain does. So these are the four things that all project management roles are going to expect, and these are the types of stories that you need to be telling. This is my resume, my actual resume, that I sat down and wrote using my own process and the experience that I have gotten from tons of recruiters and HR professionals and some of the best career coaches on the market. This is a well-written, well-formatted, story-driven resume. And the reason people are able to figure out how to do this is because they have taken the time to write down their stories and make sure they're hitting those 4 buckets that I told you about. And they've used the frameworks versus just sitting there and staring at their computer screen, not knowing what to do, feeling aimless, feeling frozen. I have a paint by numbers process, literally a template that has holding places and prompts that are going to help you take all of your stories using that template, and that tells you exactly where everything belongs. It gives you like prompt. It's literally paint by numbers. I have had clients write a resume like overnight using this template. And that in and of itself is very good. Now, it's very important to do the rest of the process, but to get it done so quickly and at least have something working that you can then approve upon and know that it's hitting some best practices, that is fabulous. So once you follow all of my templates and have your detailed stories written down, just simply follow this paint by numbers resume template. That's going to help you figure out where everything in your story fits. And this is something that I am going to give to you in my interactive workshop next Sunday. I make it super easy for you. You're not going to be sitting there just like feeling depressed and doubting yourself and feeling like an imposter after we are done with that. And you're no longer going to question whether this is the right way to do it. You're also going to have examples of resumes. If you're stuck and you can't think of what you've done, you'll have examples. You're going to be able to do this in a fun, interactive way with your peers. You're going to work on this together so you don't feel so alone. That is one of the things in the job search that is just like heart-wrenching, is feeling like you are on an island on your own going through this and nobody else is going through it with you. You will be working with other people to brainstorm and come up with things and really get those creative juices flowing. So this is Kelly. I'm going to talk about Kelly in just a moment. I have given you guys 50 minutes. I condensed this for you all. 50 minutes of learning information and learning to help you understand the process. But the truth is that just like anything in life that you learn, it is difficult to nail it overnight. And it's very difficult to go through it in, such a condensed amount of time. So this is Kelly, and Kelly came to me just like ready to leave her job behind. She was exhausted after an acquisition and she was wearing so many hats. She just like was so overwhelmed and just mentally depleted. She knew that she had no idea how to articulate her experience in a way that would move the needle for her. So she came to me and we worked closely together to pull her story together in a clear way that speaks directly to the types of jobs that she wants. So by the end of our work together, what Kelly really took away from our time was that this is a long game. This is not something that happens immediately or something that I can just, teleport to you like, the Matrix, where he asks to learn how to fly a helicopter and then his head shakes a little bit and he just knows how to do it. This is a process, and she learned that it's about learning the skills to build a career for the foreseeable future, not just right now. This is a process that works, and it takes time to get it just right. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not something that you can just immediately get like a lightning strike to the brain. This is a process that works best with someone who can go deep with you, someone who can ask you the right questions and get you to pull your stories together in a way that's going to highlight your experience in a compelling way. So I'm going to open up the floor for questions in just a hot minute. And first, I know I've been telling you guys about this workshop next Sunday. I am going to answer some questions about that because I think there will be some questions about it. So I'm just going to go ahead and answer those right now. What are you going to get out of the workshop? You're going to get out of this workshop 3 things. You're going to get a set of project management aligned stories that show your transferable skills. You're going to get a polished paint by numbers resume template and a framework to confidently tailor your resume going forward without needing to hire a resume writer every time you change jobs. And that's the biggest thing. You're going to learn how to do it for yourself, and you are never going to have to rely on anybody ever again to do it for you. You're not going to have to pay anybody. And you are going to get a huge confidence boost because you're going to understand exactly how your experience is applicable to the roles that you're applying for. So that for those of you who are saying how to frame my experience in a relevant way, this is really going to help. For those of you who feel like there is just too much competition out there, you're going to learn how to be that top 1%. And when it comes to understanding what you want to include and what you don't need to include, you're going to know exactly what needs to be in that thing to make sure that you're speaking directly to recruiters and hiring managers. Okay, number 2, is this workshop only for people who have project management experience? Not at all. In fact, almost every single one of my clients comes from a non-traditional backgrounds. It could be operations, creative work, admin, education, entrepreneurship, and business ownership. And they still build resumes that open the doors to project management roles. You're going to learn how to translate what you've already done into project management language. And that can be super daunting and super overwhelming, particularly if you don't have your PMP or CAPM. And even then, because those things don't go deep enough, they do not apply these frameworks. They just teach you frameworks. All right, next one. Can't I just use ChatGPT or YouTube University to do it myself? Totally, you could. And it's also like trying to build IKEA furniture without a manual. I don't know how many of you out there have like had to like completely unassemble something you created like with your sweat and maybe blood and tears from IKEA. But it's horrible and it's terrible. And sometimes you end up cracking that piece of furniture and you have to throw it away. Anyway, not that I'm at all speaking from experience, but this workshop is going to give you structure. Rather than trying to build things without a manual, I'm going to give you a manual. You're going to get structure. You're going to get expert feedback from me. You're going to get accountability and a community of peers that are all doing the same thing alongside of you. So you're going to apply the information live, not just listen to me download it to you guys, because that is not as helpful as actually doing it. What makes this workshop different from other resume classes? Most resume classes focus on formatting and like some keyword tricks, and that's not what we're going to do. We're going to focus on strategy. This is going to be how to tell your stories that show measurable impact and map directly to project management roles. The project management roles that you want, the types that you're going after. It's hands-on, it's practical, and it is designed by someone who is both a senior project manager and a certified career coach that has been trained by recruiters and HR professionals. How do I know this will work for me? Well, if you've been applying for roles and not hearing back, this is exactly why this exists. The approach I teach has helped professionals across industries, from healthcare to finance and everywhere in between, land interviews and get promotions. And you'll be guided step by step to identify and present your value clearly. Get feedback on my own resume. Yes. After the workshop, you're going to get an exclusive one-on-one session with me. It's an hour-long session during which I will give you customized, tailored feedback on the resume that you create. Is there a live recording if I can't attend? No. Only available to those who are ready to put in the work right now, next Sunday, rather than push it off until later, because for a lot of you right now, your career needs to be your number one priority. And oftentimes that is what needs to happen. If you're going to move the needle, is you have to prioritize these things. So there is no recording. You guys have to attend live. What if I'm not ready to invest in this workshop yet? That's fine. The free webinar last week, for those of you who were there, and today, it already gives you a very strong foundation. The workshop next week is for those who are ready to implement and to finally stop spinning and start actually seeing results. Waiting to do it later does not make this process any easier. Taking action does. How much does it cost, and are there any discounts? So the workshop is $500. And for those of you who were there last week, you got a discount code because you were early attenders. So that if you had it from last week, you can still use it today and it will still work, but that was only for people who were here last week. So for those of you who don't have the discount code, it is $500. With the discount code, it is $400. So with that, oh, you probably also want to know when it is. It is next Sunday, October 19th, 2 to 4. It's the same time as this one, 2 to 4 p.m. Pacific and 5 to 7 Eastern. Yes, I am doing that math correctly. So here is the QR code if you guys want to sign up, and I have only been speaking for an hour, which is great because we have lots of time for questions. Questions? Or did I answer absolutely everything and you guys have no questions about how to make your resumes fabulous? Hey, this is your time, guys. Once we hit hang up, I'm not here to answer questions anymore.
I have one, Kayla.
Okay.
So if we fall into like two of those quadrants, how do we approach it? So I feel like I'm a storyteller, and a navigator. So how do you, I mean, you
Yeah.
may get into this more next week, but just in general, I'm kind of curious about that.
Yeah. So I'll pull this back up. Storytellers versus navigators. What I'm gonna suggest that you do, and David, I know your background, is to look at your background and to see where do I thrive? Where do I enjoy being? Where do my skills fall? And where do I see growth for myself? Where do I see being the happiest? Um, and of course, where is their money? Like you need to think about that. That's something you need to think about. I think it comes in terms of priorities. So to start thinking about what is the most important to you? Is it money? And that's fine. I love money. I love getting paid well at my job, and will freely admit it. There is no shame in that. You should get paid for what you do. If that is your number, know that about yourself. If your number one priority is fulfillment and enjoying what you do, that's good too. There's good to know that. And if you look back through your experience and you're like, you know what? I can see the pattern. I see the pattern of the storyteller again and again and again. And I see the navigator sometimes. I think it comes through patterns as well. And David, we can continue to work on this because you're currently a client and continue to like go deeper on this and have deeper conversations about it so that you can be 100% confident that you are going in the right direction. I'm going to tell you that I do think you're going in the right direction, but there's no harm in going back and kind of reevaluating and taking that ship and kind of tweaking it a little bit to make sure that it's headed in the right direction.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a question, Kayla.
Yeah.
So other than the quadrant and telling, your one story, obviously we have to make our resume unique to each application, right? We have to look at the job description and we should align our resume accordingly, right? With each resume. It should not be, a cookie cutter resume sent out to, like 50 or 100 different companies, right?
Yep. Yep. Exactly. I'm so glad you brought this up to Joel. I'm still saying that right?
Tejal.
Tejal, I'm sorry.
That's
Thank
okay.
you.
That's okay. No problem.
Tejal. Okay. Um, so I'm so glad you bring this up because it is why I hit that first step, number one, about finding your ideal job first. So where do you think you fall, Tejal, in the quadrants?
Yeah, let me.
Optimizer?
Yeah, I would say probably optimizer and storyteller.
Okay.
So, more of a people person approach, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you feel about ambiguity versus structure? Like, where do you thrive more? Where do you feel the most comfortable?
I would have to say probably structure. So yeah,
Structure.
I would say yeah, I would probably lean more towards being an optimizer. Yeah.
Okay. And what is your background, like high level background?
Sure. Yep. I'm in the IT industry.
Okay.
Already. So, but not as a I mean not officially as a PM, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
okay. You don't need to officially be a PM. I'm wondering where
Hmm.
where your like experience kind of lies. So that's
Hmm.
super funny to me. Like not funny haha, but funny like interesting because
Hmm.
if you're in IT, that's like systems and things and ambiguity, which is directly opposite of where I'm hearing that you thrive, which it
Yeah.
sounds more like optimizer. You like structure, you like
Hmm.
people.
Hmm.
So it's going to be taking your past experience and framing it through a more like structured people-centric lens. So
Hmm.
here's what I suggest you do.
Hmm.
You find one job description, one. And this is what we're going to do next Sunday. Um,
Hmm.
like hands-on. You find that one job description that you're like, this is what I want to be doing. And I can see some threads of how my experience fits into there. Like it doesn't have to be perfect, but you can kind of see it. And we're gonna work on, connecting all of those dots. One job description, and that is what you build your boilerplate resume around, and you only apply to jobs that are similar to that. And people hate when I say this because it instantly shrinks the amount of jobs that you can apply to. And that's very purposeful. Part of my story that I left out is between getting my PMP and hiring that resume writer and getting my first job as a project manager, I got fired in the middle of the pandemic, November of 2020. I lost my job. And I still only went for legal project management roles. Now, if you want to talk about roles that are few and far between, and like there are not a lot out there, that is one of them. Project management is very new in legal, like the type that I do. And I was still very focused. Like Tejal, I had to pack up all of my stuff and put it in a storage unit and move in with my sister, who's 7 years younger than me. Like, talk about embarrassing. And even through all of that, I stayed the course. I was like, nope, this one type of job, that's it, this one type of project management job. And it worked. And it works because you tell a story that is so complete and so compelling for what they are looking for that it makes you the obvious candidate. You are that lifesaver that recruiters are looking for as they're drowning in all of these people who are unqualified and just spraying and praying and use AI solutions that will spray and pray for you. Um, that is how you do it. And then the only thing that you really have to rewrite and customize after you have this like boilerplate template is, how most resumes have that like at the top, they have what used to be an objective sections are dead. Now it's called a summary or a profile, and it's a 30,000-foot view of your experience. You just take that and you customize that. All right. So instead of
Hmm.
customizing your entire resume, you're customizing like 3 to 5 sentences max. And then
Hmm.
you focus all of your attention there. So this is about quality over quantity. You focus 100% of your energy on fewer jobs rather than 10% of your energy on, 20 jobs a week or whatever that is. Does that answer your
Okay.
question?
Yeah, and a great story. I appreciate that, Kayla, your story. Yeah, that was very helpful. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Sylvanus, you have a question. And again, if I said your name wrong, please let me
Yes,
know.
yes, I have a question. Okay, yeah, thank you. I've listened to you attentively. Um, I think I'm surprised to know that there is a lot of project management job in the legal in the legal field. Well, I've seen a couple of adverts, seeking for project managers in a legal firm, and I was wondering what they were going to do. But coming in contact with a person who is already there.
So
So
you
what exactly, because I just read briefly part of your resume you shared to know exactly what's the work the project manager does in a legal firm.
yeah. So you want me to
And how
explain?
busy is the project manager? Because I
Yeah.
can see that the portfolio or the volume of projects you handle is so much
Yeah.
in terms of
Yeah, you
cost.
saw like the $43 million portfolio, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I understand your question correctly, you're kind of asking, what do I do on a day-to-day basis?
Yes.
Okay, great. I can answer that. I love my job. I'm not gonna lie. I really do. Everybody always rolls their eyes at me, but I was very concerted about the type of job that I wanted to be in, and as a result, I love it. And I'm gonna put another asterisk on this and say that even within legal, there are different different people have different bread and butters. So there are some legal PMs who focus on e-discovery, which is when something goes to court, someone will go through and dig through all of your electronic documents, your texts, your emails, your phone line, like everything to try to find pieces of information that are compelling to the case to support the case. And there are project managers that just focus on that. There are project managers that just focus on specific types of law, like intellectual property only or litigation only. So that's an asterisk there as well. You can pigeonhole even more down, not pigeonhole, niche down even more. What do? I have a title of senior legal project manager, and I more function like a program manager. I sit on top of our firm's largest client account. It is a global account. I work with people in Germany and Europe and Italy and France, and then a lot of people across all the time zones in the US. But I sit on top of that $43 million account, and I, first of all, make sure that we are managing to that $43 million budget that we get per year. That's one thing. I also work on, because I'm an optimizer, I really like process improvement and process flow. And in a law firm, you need to create a lot of process and flow for things to get done. So I work on legal operations process improvement and then strategy. A big thing I work on is strategic alignment with what the client is wanting to see and how we take these different programs within the portfolio, and not just the legal programs, but other ones as well. Like right now, I'm working on the AI initiative for our client and making sure that everyone's using AI in a way to save money. Or how do we create continued learning units for our client to come and attend so that we can get more traction with them. I could talk about this forever. And so sorry about that in advance because I do love my job, but that is a high level. And if you'll notice, I didn't say anything about hitting deadlines or scope or anything like that. It's very unique. And that is why you have to be very specific with your niche, because what you speak to is really going to change depending on that.
Okay. That's interesting. That's interesting. One more thing.
Yeah.
I just had a casual invitation on my LinkedIn. I didn't know, somebody just, threw out the invitation there, and that was how I got here. And I just said I must listen to this meeting and know exactly what the project person has to say. I'm excited about this. But what I'm asking now is that why are you not extending the discount to those who are just coming for the first time today?
That's a
Because
good question.
it's no fault of theirs. that they were not part of your first meeting?
Yeah, you're right. It's no fault of yours. It's just the way that I ran it.
Okay, cool.
Anybody else? Oh, sorry, Sierra, you have one in the messages are kind of hard for me to see, so I apologize. I'd love to learn more about roles relating to storytelling. Um, I am going to give you an example by way of one of my past clients. His name is Frank, and he came to me. He worked in the music industry. He managed bands. He he made sure that like merch was at their what word am I thinking of? It's not festivals, concerts. There we go. These are the things that he did. And it became very clear in my work with him that he was very good at telling the stories of the bands in a way that resonated with the audience and got them to like come to the concerts or to engage with their content on Spotify or Instagram or wherever they were putting content. And he was very good at like relating to people. And when you're in spaces like that, like it's very ambiguous, right? You're never really sure what's going to work and what's not because a lot of this is marketing principles that can be very ambiguous. So what we ended up landing on for Frank was creative operations project manager, and he got a senior role as his first PM role, by the way. Um, so we focused on creative operations, and what he does now is he works for an agency that does branding within the music industry. And he does all of these things around like making sure that all of the branding for certain companies is like on point, it's on key, it's like exactly what the client wants to see, and just like making these beautiful things and telling stories visually through video. I know he had one of the brand's most visible was LinkedIn videos like in their entire history because he's really good at telling stories. So it's things like that around like um marketing and like creativity, and like I'd say more in like music or video or broadcasting or things kind of in that area where you need to paint a picture for people and work with other people to get that picture painted. Hope that answers your question, Sierra. Okay, thank you. You're welcome. All right. Any other questions? I'm gonna give it 10 more seconds. Okay. If there are no more questions, that's a wrap. Give you guys some time back. You don't have to sit here for 2 hours, which is always great. Thank you guys for attending. I really, really love seeing you guys. I will be doing more webinars like this, more workshops in the future. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. My name is in my bottom right corner here, bottom left corner, depending on how this is framed. You're welcome, Sierra. Thank you very much for coming. It was really good to see all you guys, and I hope to see you later.